Derek Cain's words cracked across the shop like gunfire. "Tell me you're not serious." His tone carried the sharp snap of a whip, cutting straight through the steady hum of the air conditioning. The owner of Ironclad Armory lounged against his spotless glass counter, arms folded, a smirk sharpened into a weapon. Opposite him, Elias Hawk Mercer stood with the stillness of age and discipline, 86 years etched into his frame. His eyes calm, worn steel lingered not on the sleek polymer pistols lining the wall, but on a humble tray of brass cleaning jags. Relics from another era. "I'm looking for a recoil spring guide," Mercer said evenly. "For a 1911 A1, period correct, mid-40s, if you've got it." Derek's laugh rang out too loud, too polished, and two weekend warriors in tactical vests chuckled along, eager to be his audience. "A 1911 seriously. Grandpa, that relic belongs in a museum. Let me set you up with something modern polymer. High cap, light enough you don't throw your back out." The old man didn't blink. "Not here for a new pistol." He replied, "Here for the part." The smirk faltered. Derek had expected retreat, not resistance. Silence pressed in, and suddenly his showmanship felt thin. He leaned closer, his voice dropping to a venomous hiss. "You don't belong here. Honestly, I doubt you'd even pass a background check." The room shifted. Chuckles died. Mercer slipped a weathered wallet from his jacket, the leather creased and worn smooth by decades of touch. His movements were deliberate, almost ritual. Then Derek saw it. The faded lining had fallen open. Pinned inside was a small star of metal, dulled by time but heavy with meaning. "What's that trinket?" Derek scoffed, forcing the sneer back into his voice. "Win it at the county fair." He tapped the leather with mock disdain. "For Mercer." The touch detonated memory. Frozen ridges, black smoke curling from shattered earth, the weight of a dying comrade across his shoulders. A voice, long buried, whispered through the chaos. "You earned this." "Son." The vision dissolved. Fluorescent lights returned. Derek shoved him. Mercer staggered one step, then steadied. His gaze never wavered. Eyes locked. Calm. Unbroken, an old soldier weathering yet another storm. "You're watching Stories Untold. Sound off in the comments where are you watching from and hit subscribe so you don't miss the next mission." He caught it in the reflection of the glass, silent, undeniable. Corporal Evan Reyes. 2 weeks into leave from the security detachment at Camp Valor, had come looking for normalcy, the smell of gun oil, the feel of magazines between his hands, a world not balanced on a trigger. Instead, under fluorescent lights, he found humiliation staged like theater. Derek Cain's swagger had been empty entertainment until the shove. The old man, Elias Hawk Mercer, staggered and steadied himself with the poise of someone who'd survived harder shocks than this. Something in Evan locked into place. Not rage, but duty. He closed the magazine on the shelf with a soft click and walked into the strip mall sun. Mercer sat on a concrete bench, posture quiet, gaze stretched toward some horizon only he could see. Weathered. Waiting. Evan approached carefully, boots whispering on asphalt. "Sir," he said. Respectful. Mercer's eyes met his steady. Unsurprised. "You all right?" Evan asked. A small nod. An acknowledgement. Nothing more. Then Evan noticed it. A faded arc stitched on Mercer's jacket sleeve, 1st Sentinel Division. He'd only seen it in old lectures and forgotten slides at Camp Valor. To find it here, on a stranger's jacket, it hit like cold rain. Sudden and sharp. Evan did what Marines do. He called, not 911. His fingers punched the duty line drilled into muscle memory Gunnery Sergeant Marcus Briggs. Camp Valor, 35 miles away. Briggs, came the gravel-voiced answer. Gunny. It's Reyes, Evan said. Clipped. He reported what he'd seen: the shove, the medal, the patch Elias Mercer. Silence. Then, in a lower voice, say that name again. Evan repeated it. Briggs's tone shifted, roughness replaced by awe. Then steel. Stay with him. Don't let him leave. I don't care how. Lunch, small talk. Weather, whatever it takes. Evan slid the phone away and sat down. A quiet barrier between Mercer and the parking lot. Waiting. Back at Camp Valor. Briggs gripped the receiver with a hand that trembled only once. He didn't dial a captain. He didn't draft a report. He cut straight through the chain. Get me Major General Helena Sloan, he said. The order landed heavy, like thunder rolling before a storm. Gunnery Sergeant Marcus Briggs didn't wait for channels or paperwork. The name had hit him like a blow. Elias Hawk Mercer, one of those ghosts the Corps spoke about in low voices, the kind that made barracks fall silent. He cut across the duty office, boots pounding linoleum, past framed commendations and half-asleep lieutenants, straight to the oak door of the base commander. No salute, no hesitation. Some names don't require permission. The outer office smelled of burnt coffee and stress. Briggs's single knock cracked through the room like a rifle report. Major General Helena Sloan looked up. Steady as stone. She wasn't a woman who rattled tribunals. Sandstorms. Midnight calls had carved the steel in her eyes, but the sight of Briggs's face made her sit taller. Gunny, she said. 2 words. Plain. Briggs didn't waste them. He laid it out: a gun shop in Greenfield, a shove, a jacket with a faded arc, a tarnished Star of Valor, and a name: Elias Mercer. He gave it raw, clipped, without color, when he stopped. Silence held. Sloan turned her terminal and keyed the name. The screen filled with a dossier, scarred by stamps and redactions. Sergeant Major Rhett, Mercer, Black Ridge Pocket, 1951. Conspicuous gallantry. 2 wounds in action. Star of Valor. The medal Derek Cain had sneered at wasn't a trinket. It was a chapter written in blood. Sloan read in stillness, like scripture. The lines etched into her face seemed to deepen. Mercer's record wasn't long, it was weight. It carried names of the dead, nights that broke men, and the discipline of someone who had never stopped serving. The office itself seemed to shrink under the gravity. Where is he? She asked. The command stripped the air bare. Briggs answered. Strip Mall, Ironclad Armory, less than an hour away. She didn't blink. She gave orders. Assemble an honor detail. Dress blues. Now. Notify Public Affairs. This will not be rumor. Her hand pressed the intercom. Driver, ceremonial unit on the double. Full honors. And lock down that store, effective immediately. No active duty sets foot there until this is resolved. Briggs felt the current shift. What he had feared would be red tape had become momentum. The Corps itself was moving. Phones lit. Orders crackled. In supply rooms, Marines pulled dress blues from garment bags, polished brass, folded white gloves with precision learned on parade grounds. The ceremonial unit moved like a machine. Each action practiced 1,000 times. Public Affairs began drafting a statement. Respect, dignity, accountability, outside. Engines turned. Black Suburbans rolled forward. Hammond WVs idled like predators waiting to move. The base didn't just send soldiers, it sent memory, ceremony, judgment, and in a strip mall bathed in late sun. Derek Cain leaned against his counter, still rehearsing his smirk. He didn't hear the first rumble, but the second low. Steady, unmistakable, made his grin falter. History was rolling toward him, and it wasn't coming to argue. Inside Ironclad Armory, Derek Cain was still savoring his own echo. He spun lies to his hangers-on how he'd defended his store from a dangerous, senile relic. Laughter rose, brittle and eager, inflating his pride. But through the front glass, he saw them, Mercer, steady as granite on the bench, and Corporal Ivan Reyes beside him like a silent sentinel. Their calm was unbearable. To Derek, it was mockery. His ego demanded escalation. He burst outside, boots slamming concrete, entourage trailing. "I told you to leave," he barked, looming over Mercer. "Private property. You've got 60 seconds before I call the cops." His tone dipped venomous. "Maybe they'll find you a nice ward to finish your days." Evans rose, shoulders filling the space between them, voice level but edged. "That's enough," Derek sneered, jabbing a finger. "What are you? His grandson. Move or I'll have you hauled off too." The threat drowned beneath a sound deeper than anger. A low, synchronized rumble that rolled through rib cages and shook the storefront glass. Not sirens, not trucks. Something heavier, disciplined. Heads turned at the edge of the lot. A convoy materialized, 2 black Suburbans bracketed by olive Humvees. Engines thundering in lockstep. No lights, no fanfare, just inevitability. They swung into formation, sealing the exits with military precision. Doors opened in perfect unison. A dozen Marines stepped out, dress blues gleaming, rifles shouldered. Their boots struck pavement as one, forming ranks sharp enough to cut the air. Then the rear sedan door opened. Major General Helena Sloan emerged, decorations flashing in the sun, silver stars marking authority no one could mistake. She walked forward like a verdict already sealed. Derek wasn't even worth her glance. Her eyes found Mercer, and her steel posture softened into respect. 3 feet away. She stopped. The parking lot stilled, engines idling, phones raised, strangers holding breath, with flawless precision. She snapped the sharpest salute of her career. "Sergeant Major Elias Mercer, sir. It is an honor." Gasps rippled. Drivers slowed, witnesses fumbling for cameras. A 2-star general, saluting a man most had mistaken for frail. Mercer rose, joints stiff but dignity unbroken. Sloane's salute held, then her voice turned outward, cutting across the strip mall like a clarion. "For those who do not know, this man is a hero of the Republic." She named his battles, his scars, his medal. Each syllable fell like a hammer, shattering Derek's bravado in front of the crowd. The honor guard presented arms, the crack of rifles echoing like thunder. Derek flinched, his smirk bled away. The cameras kept rolling. A legend no longer whispered standing, honored, undeniable. Finally, Sloane's gaze shifted from Mercer to Cain. The warmth vanished, replaced by a cold fury that froze the air. Her steps toward him were deliberate, unhurried, inescapable. Derek's pulse faltered. He hadn't insulted an old man. He had provoked the Marine Corps itself. The parking lot held its breath, bracing for judgment. The Star of Valor pinned inside Elias Mercer's jacket was never his. It belonged to a 17-year-old private who had thrown himself on a grenade in the frozen chaos of Korea, saving Mercer and 2 others at the cost of his own life. Mercer carried the medal not as proof of glory, but as a burden of remembrance, a promise never to forget. The world, however, chose to remember for him. By nightfall, the video of a general saluting an old man outside a strip mall spread like wildfire. First local outlets, then national networks. Comment sections overflowed with reverence. Strangers argued not about politics or policy, but about honor. Meanwhile, Derek Cain's empire crumbled. Reviews tanked his shop's rating to rubble. The same bravado that once drew customers now repelled them. When General Sloan's directive hit every bulletin board from Camp Valor to Fort Braddock banning Marines from his store, the lifeblood drained out overnight, within 3 months. Cain sold rifles and optics for pennies on the dollar. The proud ironclad armory sign was pulled down, replaced by a blank rectangle of shame. 6 months later, Cain was just another weary man in a supermarket uniform. He stacked cans under buzzing fluorescent lights, the scent of bleach and cardboard clinging to his hands. His shoulders had lost their swagger. His voice carried no audience. Then he looked up. Down the aisle came Mercer, steady but upright, a cart before him, in the child's seat. His great-granddaughter chattered about school, her laughter ringing like bells. Cain's throat tightened. Instinct told him to flee behind the display, but his legs wouldn't move. Mercer's eyes found him. No anger, no triumph, only the same calm that had faced storms, fire, and loss. A single nod. Nothing more. Not forgiveness, not friendship, just acknowledgement. 2 men sharing a space. One diminished, one enduring. "I see you," it said. And then Mercer moved on, guided by a child's voice brighter than any medal. Cain stood frozen, a can trembling in his hand, for the first time. He understood strength isn't carved into storefronts or shouted through bravado. Respect cannot be claimed, it must be earned. Valor doesn't shout, it endures. Because heroes don't wear their greatness like armor. They carry it quietly, for the rest of us to learn from. True courage is humble. Respect costs nothing, but it can change everything.